This is a training session for transcription with Scriber, which is a tool which will be integrated into Gridspace Mixer. We'll start with an introduction to what Scriber is. Scriber is part of our loop for generating speech data in Gridspace Mixer. So you should all be familiar with the simulated conversations that we generate on Mixer, and Scriber forms the other loop of that process by labeling the conversations that are generated during the Mixer sessions. We'll be offering a set of paid tasks for labeling conversational speech data. The tool's name is Scriber. The first task that we're going to be introducing is just transcription of the audio into text. The purpose is going to be to listen to the audio and write down every word as spoken as accurately as possible. The tool provides a specialized interface for transcribing speech audio, and it should be pretty efficient once you learn the shortcuts. It's important that each labeler consistently transcribes the conversations in the same way. And this training will teach you to consistently and efficiently use Scriber to label the calls on Mixer. Just like the calls on Mixer, you'll be compensated by work completed within Mixer. Scriber assists you in your transcription by providing the guess from what the machine understood, which you will then correct. You shouldn't assume that the guess is correct, but it is there to save you time. Scriber allows you to tab through the audio quickly, word by word, and also provides keyboard shortcuts for special common operations. As we add more data sets, more data will be available for labeling on Scriber. But unlike Mixer phone sessions, the live sessions, you'll be able to do this work at any time. However, it will be available on a first-come, first-served basis. In the future, we may also select individuals on Scriber to perform additional work based on your accuracy, speed, or other special skills that you might have. The way this will work is after you view this training data, you'll be allowed to label a special calibration set. After completing this, we'll certify you to transcribe data for pay. And over time, there will be additional training to do other labeling tasks, for example, emotions, dialects, and dialogue acts. We've primarily tested this tool in Chrome, so if you have issues, our first suggestion is to make sure you're using an up-to-date Chrome browser. If you have questions during this transcription, while you're doing transcription, you can make sure to use the resources available at the subreddit, so ask questions on there. We'll try to answer questions as they come up, and also hope the community can help answer questions there as well. So, for example, if you note any errors in the tools or the lexicon or an ambiguity in what you're transcribing, you can try to reach out to the community on the subreddit. If no one knows there, the next step would be look up the ambiguous word on YouTube or Google and find an example of someone speaking or writing the word or phrase, and use that as your guide for how it should be transcribed. So now we're going to take a tour of the tool and what it looks like, and how you'll access it through Gridspace Mixer. Okay, this is the view that you'll see on Gridspace Mixer once transcription jobs are available to you. You'll have a list of each data set which is available, along with the payment per audio minute and the number of conversations and minutes of audio which are currently available. These tasks are all on a first-come, first-served basis, so as other people label these conversations, you'll see the number of conversations and minutes of audio decreasing. It's not a guarantee that you'll have access to all of the conversations and minutes of audio which are listed here. Click Start to begin transcribing. So this is the Gridspace Scriber view. You have audio controls at the top here.
Hi, welcome to In and Out. How can I help you?
You can, of course, scrub to a particular place, as in most audio players. You can also mute one channel or the other channel, and just click again to unmute the other channel. However, the Scriber allows you to select particular words and hear them. So one way you can do that is just selecting
Hi, welcome to In and Out.
Selecting particular sections of text.
How can I help you?
To double.
And the other way that you can do this is by tabbing.
Hi, welcome to In and Out. How can I help you?
Could I get just a double?
To move between segments, you can press Enter to move to the next segment,
Sure,
and Shift Enter to move to the previous.
Hey, could I get just a double?
Similarly with Tab, you can tab. You can tab to move to the next word, and Shift Tab to move to previous words.
Sure, just the burger.
Once you identify an error, you just start typing if you have the text that you want to correct selected.
Sure, just the burger.
Yeah.
Okay, and what else can I get for you?
We're gonna do 2 cheeseburger.
So you can also just select and delete to remove sections of text.
Do 2 cheeseburgers.
Did you want to make those meals?
In cases where there's an extra word, you should simply delete those extra words.
Did you want to make those meals?
No thanks.
Make sure you include filler words.
No thanks. And
Okay.
And I think that'll be it for today. I think that'll.
So there I'm just using a combination of tabbing to the word that I want to correct, and then just starting to type the correction.
That'll be it for today.
Okay, so I just have, one double burger and then 2 cheeseburgers. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, your total is $18.52, and you can pull up to the. Your total is $18.52, and you can pull up to the next window.
Thank you.
So in this case, I would use the unintelligible tag because I can hear someone talking, but I can't understand them. Okay, and that's the end of that segment. So when I'm done, I will hit submit to move to the next segment. Okay. Oh, yeah. I'll also point out that whenever you make a correction,
Hello, welcome to. Hello, welcome to.
So if I were deleting this word, you can see that the saving status is indicated in the this box here in the upper right corner. And if I add that in again here.
Welcome to. Hello, welcome to. Welcome to.
You can see it tells me once it's been saved again. Also, there's a dark mode available to have a less bright screen for longer sessions. Also, there's reference of each of the shortcuts that you can use while you have your cursor inside one of the text areas in a segment. Cool. Okay, now we do the tour. Okay, so now we're going to go over some specifics of how conversational speech should be transcribed in Scriber. So the most important thing is to just always listen carefully and correct the transcripts word for word. In cases where you can't understand what the person is saying, either use the UNC tag or unintelligible in square brackets, and you can use shortcuts for those common tags. The difference between these is that UNC should be used when you can't understand a single word within a sentence that you can understand, and unintelligible would be for longer sections where you can't actually understand where one word starts and the next word begins. Numbers, dates, and symbols should be transcribed as spoken. So you should, for $100, for example, you should type out the words $100 and dollars, and so on. Yeah. For acronyms, put a space between the letters as they are spoken. For example, in the terms US, AM, and PM, or CNN, all of these should be transcribed as individual letters with spaces in between. Sometimes the machine transcript will include periods between these letters. You don't need to remove them, but just correct them if they're wrong. However, if an acronym is sounded out when spoken, as in like PETA or NASA, leave it as it is. Also, a word like AAA, you can leave as the three letters A all as one word. But if it's pronounced AAA, then you should transcribe it as letters separated by spaces. Make sure you watch out for common spelling issues like there, and there, and make sure you have the correct spelling in each case. Be sure to ask questions on the subreddit if there's incorrect or ambiguous spelling that comes up in the machine transcript. Sometimes we'll be able to, if we can identify these issues, we can correct our lexicon in the future. Example for cases like canceling and canceling, where there's both American spellings and British spellings. We're going to go with American spellings. You should, if you notice the machine transcript using a British spelling, you should make a post on the subreddit so that we can correct our lexicon. You don't need to worry about adding or correcting punctuation or capitalization in Scriber. You do need to look out for apostrophes and use apostrophes appropriately. So, for example, I'm working on it should have an apostrophe in I'm. How are you? You don't need a question mark. And I can't see it. You do need an apostrophe in I can't. You should use filler words like, you know, yeah, sort of, so, and so on. Also, slang words, go ahead and transcribe them as slang words like gonna, wanna, gotta, shoulda, and so on. If a speaker doesn't complete a word or stutters while saying a word, you should use tilde. So the way this would work is if someone says, "But what do you think?" you would transcribe that as "but," WHA, and then the tilde, "What do you think?" So the tilde will go after the partial word to indicate that it wasn't completely pronounced. So this could come up if someone just changes what word they're saying partway through the word, or if they are stuttering a bit. If the stuttering causes the word to be unintelligible, or you can't tell what they're saying, just use the unc or unintelligible tags. If a speaker mispronounces a word, but what they intended to say is clear, transcribe the intended word if you can understand the intention. We had an example where a speaker mispronounced a word ordinance as ordents, where the context was building, ordents, or law, so it's fairly clear that they meant building ordinance. So in those cases, you can correct to the intention of the speaker. If there's a foreign language word, for example, Spanish, you can use the Spanish tag, shortcut Control-P. And if it's just one or two Spanish words that you happen to understand, feel free to transcribe them as you are able. And the same goes for other foreign language words like German or Russian. Just make up a tag and add those tags. At some point we may have some segments which have redacted text. These will not be editable to you, so you just skip over those redacted segments. But you can still see whatever there is from that segment which is not redacted, but that will not shouldn't encounter that in these early data sets. All non-speech sounds should be tagged with the appropriate tag from the next slide, and these are also available in the footer in the Scriber view. Type these tags exactly how they're displayed, or use the keyboard shortcuts to add them. There should always be a space before and after each tag, and you can just use your best guess to distinguish between kids, babies, cats, or dogs. Okay, so we're just going to go over all the non-speech sounds that you might encounter. For cases where you can't understand a specific word within a sentence, you would mark that as unc. For longer sections where things are garbled, or you can't really understand where one word ends or where one word begins, but you're sure it's speech, use the unintelligible tag. If you hear background music, that would use the music tag, but you can distinguish this from other musical tones like ringing or beeps, and have those marked appropriately as ringing or beep. Noise could be come from a lot of different sources, but just note that if it's a noise of someone saying a word, you'd want to use the unc to mark that, whereas noise would be coming from other sources. Laughter, whenever someone's laughing during the segments, you use the laughter tag. To mark Spanish speech, you'll use the Spanish tag. Coughing or clearing a throat would be the cough tag. Kids, baby, dogs, and cats would all correspond to you hearing those sounds in the background of the call. So just mark where you're hearing those sounds in the background, approximately where they occur within the segment. And if you happen to hear a scream, that would be similarly marked, just locating it in the appropriate place within the segment. We went over some of the navigation controls during the tool tour, but just to recap, you can always select any word in the text and the player will attempt to play all those words. You can select or deselect the agent and caller buttons next to the audio bar in order to mute specific channels. Alt-B plays from the beginning of the current segment, and Alt-P just plays or pauses the audio wherever you're at. Enter will skip to the next segment, and Shift-Enter skips to the previous segment. And once we start tagging, adding tags, that is also how you can skip between the tag area boxes. Within the segment, you can use Tab to select the next word and Shift-Tab to select the previous word. All right, to wrap up, this was training to introduce the Scriber tool, which you will use to create transcriptions within Mixer. After completing this, you will get access to the calibration set. Will be your next step. And once you complete that, then we will certify you to do transcriptions in general.